Hi. It's been a little bit since we talked about the balance changes, since we talked about the emergency stuff, since we talked about all the anniversary events, and overall what I would consider to be a pretty hopeful, uplifting, exciting moment in Epic 7. But with all kinds of changes and all kind of, kinds of additions to the game, there are always some things that kind of fall through the cracks, and that's what I want to talk about today. As you see right here on your screen, there's another adjustment that has been added to Epic 7, and it's pretty, I would say it's pretty down, or it's pretty, ear to the ground. It feels like they're listening, because this is actually something that if you have tried Epic 7, especially recently, or are very excited about the new anniversary changes, this makes sense to you. So if you aren't familiar with what's going on, essentially the Hero's Path is one of the new renewed activities or new anniversary activities that are being added to all accounts, not just new accounts or returners, and the rewards for them were pretty exciting. They do have activities like do Wyvern 13, do Katie's 13, go through Labyrinth, do some arena, do basically everything you'd normally do in your progression of Epic 7. However, there was a big problem with it, and I'll also mention why I don't think this is quite fixed yet, but let's get into the meats and potatoes of this, which is the Hero's Path rewards have been changed. Now, the reason for this is because, number one, if you have seen any advertisements for the game recently, a lot of it talks about get this max, get this max level of this or gain that. And one really big thing that I think a lot of people were excited about was Brig being now free, according to Smallgate, and same with Tamarin. Tamarin is accessible or available now as a connection character, which is really cool and very exciting. However, what you need to know is that in most cases, Brig being a 5-star here, or I guess being rewarded prior as a Hero's Path 3 requirement, is actually a lot harder than you think. Now, to kind of illustrate what I mean by that, I'm going to bring open my Epic 7 for a moment to kind of show you, I guess, what the Hero's Path even looks like. So this is Hero's Path 1, and I myself am somewhat of a veteran player, I'd say. I've played this game for a couple of years, and as you see, some of the rewards are maybe not the most difficult at first. They have stuff like clear Wyvern Hunt 10 20 or more times, which is okay. Quick battling, that's fine, right? And if it just stopped at clear one hunt over and over, especially if you're a new player, then okay, that's not that big a deal. But if you recall, we have to get all the way to Hero's Path 3 in order to get Brig, who I think a lot of players would find useful, especially for expeditions and early content. But as you could probably tell, given that I'm only 51 out of 70 progress and I'm an endgame player, this process is actually going to take a while. Things like clearing Automaton Tower, things like clearing certain stages, clearing Wyvern 10 100 times as a free-to-play player or a starting player is actually a lot more difficult than you think. And now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, Connor, okay, like, doing Wyvern, come on, is that like the biggest thing for you? Is that a huge problem? Well, if not that, for instance, right, we do have something that I have actually seen from, and I'm actually trying to bring up right now, from some other players that actually have gotten further into the pass than I have, and that's this later reward, or this later task that you would otherwise have to have cleared to unlock Brig, which is explore the Labyrinth 75 times. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with what the Labyrinth is, a Labyrinth isn't a stage, right? This is not something super easy to do. And the reward here is, well, you can't see it. It's 5 charms. 5 generic, like multi-purpose versatile charms, but you'd have to explore the Labyrinth 70 times. Now, I can't confirm for sure if this includes story labyrinths. I haven't gotten to this point. And to be honest with you, at the point where this would even be relevant, this is ridiculous. And most players would basically be in the end game, but 75 Labyrinth explorations is ridiculous. Now, that aside, I do want to, draw your attention back to where the rewards got changed. And the fact that now the Brig reward has been pushed up to the Hero's Path 1 is good, but with an asterisk. And let me explain. So again, if we backpedal for a moment to what you're seeing in the rewards for, or the rewards that you do from completing the Hero's Path 1, you'll notice that a lot of these are maybe easy at first and don't feel as bad to do as you're going and playing a lot of the game initially. But some of these activities are for lack of a better word, ridiculous, almost unfeasible for an average player. And to be clear, although I do understand that Brig kind of shines in expeditions, and expeditions are maybe an early mid-game kind of activity where you begin doing them, things like awaken a hero to 6-star 4 times, completing Cade's Hunt 50 times, buy 20 rare well, maybe not that much, but like get 1,000 AP and unrecorded history. Things like this are kind of difficult to do, and by the time you would actually want to be using Brig on some of these things, you might not even, number one, be interested in the game anymore, which, okay, it is what it is, but also you might not even be at the point where you will need Brig anymore, because if you are at a point where you're doing things like exploring Labyrinth 10 times, if you're at a point where you're completing Banshee Hunt like 110 times total, cumulatively, by the way, it's not 100, then 110, then all these added up together. It's a total of 110. This is kind of straining and just feels weird progression-wise. It feels like you're not just wasting a lot of time, rather, or that's the wrong way to put it, but it feels like you were supposed to be rewarded and you were supposed to gain resources that you could use for things like upgrading your gear through some of these activities, but rather it feels like every single reward that you get is used to contribute towards the next step of this, which is fine because it'll give you upgraded units in total, but things like explore Labyrinth 10 times, where are we getting 10 charms from? Right? And for the later one that we're talking about, how are we going to get 75? And this isn't even talking about what I consider to be the biggest problem of all. If you are someone that is doing things like Nightmare Raid, or if you aren't familiar with what the Nightmare Raid is, it's this Azimuthal of Cycle Nightmare. This costs these bug charms, okay? And the bug charms, in case you're curious, costs 3 labyrinth compasses. If you decide to enter and do your labyrinth, by the way, for the month, that counts as 1 try. So, hypothetically speaking, if you were only trying to do Nightmare Raids and go through, it would take you, I don't know, like months, maybe even a year, in order to actually get to the point where you can actually do the Malekith, or get to the point where you can use these Malekith bug charms to actually clear out the labyrinth and complete Hero's Path 3. Now, again, I want to remind you guys that this isn't all supposed to be like a bad thing. I know that, Smilegate is making adjustments, as you've seen here, which is really exciting, and the Artifact Summon ticket and the Hero Summon ticket, they're nice, but of course, the thing that a lot of people want in terms of pacing is the Brig. But as I'm kind of mentioning here, though I do think that this is a nice gesture and will be helpful, as someone that has been guiding new players into playing epicseven because there's new rewards and there's new exciting things coming on, there is a very good chance that this Hero's Path 1 mission won't be completed until, I don't know, like 2 months in. And by 2 months into the game, there's a good chance you'll have the ability to start expeditions, or maybe 2 months is an exaggeration, but within like a month or so is probably an accurate representation for how long it'll take for them to get to the Brig reward. And that's why, although I'm very thankful for the changes that they have here, I'm very, very aware that, they have to make people play the game and things like that. At the end of the Hero's Path is when you get the Brig reward. Again, not being ungrateful, I think it's very exciting and very cool that you get Brig so early, especially since he's so impactful. Reforge 4 pieces of equipment. You can't even reforge gear, if I'm not mistaken, up until a certain account level, which is already ridiculous. But that's not even on top of the, at this point, based on what I'm seeing, 400 runs of Hunt before you can get, Brig. So we're basically relegating Brig to being a mandatory, or like at the very minimum, or at the earliest being an expedition or a post 13 kind of run character. And otherwise, and I'm sure some of you guys will suggest this, oh, well, what about clearing just the level 8 variation instead of 13? 400 runs of Hunt wasted on Katie's 8? Or, Wyvern 10? Take a look at what the rewards of Katie's 8 is. 55 gear. It's the very beginning part where you can start getting, again, these, these cursed horn pieces, right? But you have 55 and 70 pieces being dropped at the same time. I'm sure I don't have to justify this any further in terms of why doing it at 13 is likely what a lot of people will want to do. And in general, what I'm sure most people are going to do instead is just use the quick battles to get through some of these activities faster. But for all intents and purposes, even with 20 runs a day being quickly assembled, all these requirements and all these rewards are honestly kind of taxing. And although I understand that even something like Tamarin's connection, which is the other thing that was widely praised for, finally being available, at least the connections here are kind of reasonable. Compare the requirements to get Brig and Tamarin. Send aid to your fellow guild members 20 times. That's like completable in a week. Okay, complete 100 adventure battles. That's completable, in probably like 2 or 3 days. Even more, or even sooner, by the way, if you're completing, you're doing the story. Acquire all daily reputation rewards 3 times. 3 days. Purchase a bittersweet dessert festival. It's you buy something from like the store. But you get you get my point here, right? So I would say I was someone that was definitely very happy with the changes that came into epicseven, and the changes that they've been announcing and talking about have been very exciting. But I'm a little bit curious, or I'm a little bit I don't want to say on the fence, because this is obviously a nice change, but I'm almost wondering if they might have to go a little bit further with this. Again, I'm not trying to say, oh my god, I can't believe Smilegate didn't give it to us for free. But even in terms of practicality, if a veteran player like myself has been doing the Hero's Path activity pretty much every day, I've been trying to do or use all my energy, my mailbox energy, to complete some of the Hero's Path missions, and I'm not even done with Hero's Path 1 after a week. A veteran player, like someone that is not afraid to just use, leaves and stuff like that to get through the Hero's Path. How long is it going to take for someone that actually needs Brig to be able to complete it? Now, again, to be clear, I know there are going to be people that are faster or maybe a little bit slower, so it will depend on person from person. But in terms of when you get the Brig, I understand the desire to want people to clear and play the activity more. But Brig is such a pivotal part of people's accounts, especially if you can use him for something like expeditions, early Labyrinth runs, because of his morale, even something like Wyvern. It feels like Brig was supposed to be a step in the right direction, and for whatever reason, he's kind of gate-kept now. Now, again, that's the premise, I guess, of like the big announcement that they had today. And I do think that, again, while the adjustment is nice, we got to work on maybe a few other things. Maybe you guys don't feel this way, and if you don't, by all means, please don't shoot me. Please don't shoot me in the comment section. But this is just from my anecdotal experience and also from speaking to others that are starting the game because of the new excitement and the hype. It feels like the Hero's Path is not, the wow, and now everyone, jump up and dance like we've got a free Brig. Like some players I know have gotten Tamarin, which is very helpful and great, but they feel like Brig is, well, I mean, after the change, they'll probably change their mind about it, but Brig formerly in Hero's Path 3, unattainable, especially again with this change here, or with this requirement, explores Labyrinth 75 times. Brig might get power crept by the time this activity is completed. In any case, though, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Again, long story short, I'm really thankful for all the changes, and having looked through a lot of the changes for Smilegate, I do appreciate a lot of the changes. They're very cool, very exciting. They are giving out a lot, and I'm very happy with all the feedback and all the excitement that people have towards the game. But maybe we can adjust this a little bit more, especially the Labyrinth thing. Like, come on, Smilegate, we're veteran players. Or for veteran players, if you're doing Nightmare Raid, I can't afford to do 75 Labyrinth, raw Labyrinth runs, okay? Anyways, thanks again for watching, though, guys. That's going to be it for this video. Overall, a nice change, an emergency change, which is really cool. But yeah, thanks again. Appreciate all the support here. If you guys would like to subscribe so we can hit 1,000 and the channel can become monetized, that would be great. But thank you again for watching. I appreciate all your viewership, and of course, all your comments and your love and your support. Sorry, it's really early. If you can't, well, I mean, I could tell you, I could show you guys. It's 7:40 a.m. Haha, real and true, not lying. But anyways, yeah, thanks again for watching, guys. That's gonna be it for this video. I will see you on the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good night.